So with the Singapore Grand Prix behind us and my internet connection about as secure as a Ferrari strategist's job right now, F1 headed over to Japan for the 18th round of the season. Hey there guys, I'm Will, welcome to FP1 and the comedy review, which fingers crossed will actually be uploaded on time this week. Before we jump into things, I do want to thank everyone for their support on the last video. It's been a bit of a stressful week for me, having been thrown back into the dark ages, but your comments really meant a lot, so cheers. But now we have all the soppiness out the way, let's just jump straight into the comedy review for the Japanese Grand Prix.
We are a fucking bunch of wankos.
Let's start then by covering the news, and the big story, just like last week, was whether Red Bull had been cheating or not. Helmut Marko had been keeping an eye on the racing in 2021, but it seemed like he couldn't keep the other one on his finances, or anything for that matter, given that it doesn't work. The cost cap documents were scheduled to come out prior to this race weekend. However, for unknown reasons, the FIA has opted to hold these back until Monday. Oh, Twitter's gonna love this one, aren't they? While Red Bull and Max Verstappen put their phones down for a few hours, FP1 was getting underway in Japan, the cars emerging onto a rain-soaked Suzuka circuit. Ferrari were back to their usual antics, trying to throw their drivers into the walls at all costs, Charles Leclerc suffering from two big snaps going through the Degner corners. To be fair to them, the conditions were appalling, even catching out the most experienced drivers, Valtteri Bottas running wide at 130R, and the GOAT himself blessing the gravel trap at the hairpin. It would be Fernando Alonso, however, who would master the conditions, ending the opening hour of practice fastest, ahead of Sainz and Leclerc. But the drama wasn't quite over yet. With Mick Schumacher fighting to secure a place on the 2023 grid, his car's chassis clearly had other ideas, as it committed seppuku in the dying moments of the session. That put the German out for FP2, which had been lengthened so Pirelli could test their new dry weather tyres for 2023. Yeah, good luck with that. It would be Mercedes here topping the timing screens, as they continued their trend of building everyone's hopes up over a weekend, only to be remarkably underwhelming on race day. Basically, if Mercedes were a porn film, there'd be the Kim Kardashian tapes. You know what, let's just move on, that was shit. Let's instead talk about Red Bull, and Verstappen can once again win the title this weekend, provided he wins the race and takes the fastest lap. However, one of his technical title rivals, Sergio Perez, has been establishing himself as a bit of a rainmaster this year. He would show off his talents as he skidded off the road at turn 11. Charles Leclerc would go off here as well, and Yuki Tsunoda paused his session for a meet and greet with eager fans at Degner 1. However, arguably the strangest moment of them all would lie with Nicholas Latifi, because who else? The Canadian would showcase his undoubted skill as he tried out a never-before-seen racing line through the final complex of corners. And that's because he was going around the wrong ones. This was the car's fault, of course, and I'll have no one saying otherwise in the comments. Saturday morning would see bridges burnt between bitter rivals, and I don't mean between Russia and Ukraine. Mercedes Junior Nick de Vries would be confirmed as signing for the enemy in AlphaTauri for 2023. Or maybe this is just Toto Wolff's master plan to place two sleeper agents in the junior cars for next year. This of course meant that Pierre Gasly was finally giving Christian Horner the middle finger and heading to Alpine, with press release photos showing how Gasly had brought some of his AlphaTauri expertise over already, if by that you mean how to look like stiff corpses and wear clothing. We've got a practice session to cover on Saturday as well, so we might as well go over that, and with conditions drying up, it would be Red Bull and Max Verstappen setting scary lap times throughout the final hour before qualifying. The Dutchman would have to put up with a bit of traffic, however, moaning considerably about it, which I really hope doesn't come back to bite him later on. Now I'll be honest, there's all more to talk about regarding FP3, so let's jump right into qualifying. And straight away, home hero Yuki Tsunoda wasn't very happy. In fact, neither AlphaTauri driver were, the team's upgrade package overnight seeming to involve removing their brakes, which, funnily enough, didn't bode particularly well. Yuki at least was able to scrape through Q1, though Pierre was less fortunate. I heard the pair were later heard in the karaoke bar singing this banger. Moving on to Q2, here we would see a much stronger Daniel Ricciardo, who revealed he won't be on the grid next year. And you know what, I'm quite proud with how calmly I delivered that one. It still wouldn't be enough for the top 10, however. The Honey Badger beaten by Vettel by just 3 milliseconds. At least Seb got to keep his 100% Q3 record at his favourite circuit, deciding to prove he really had gone insane when he started speaking to the tarmac itself after his final run. As for the rest of Q3, it was actually more competitive than we first thought. Verstappen would take pole, but only by 100th of a second from Leclerc behind, with Sainz also in close contention in third. But it seemed like Max was more worried about Lando Norris than the Ferraris. Well, I guess the Scuderia will cock things up even when left alone. Not as pretty good unless he has to put Inters on. Verstappen would therefore attempt to kill the Briton in the final sector, prompting an investigation from the FIA, who deemed a reprimand was in order as opposed to a grid penalty. This, unsurprisingly, made Twitter angry again. So here are a few of my personal favourites. Since #F1 fixed his trending, I thought I'd get my opinion in. Lewis Hamilton is a whiny, pathetic huge sore loser. The sport would be a better place without him and his army of preteens who gobble everything like they say Crofty gobbles his dick every race weekend. At FIA, nothing more to say about you other than you really are a bunch of spineless, corrupt scumbag. One more charge you had to regain some dignity, and you've made yourself look like even bigger you at Jean Todt, you corrupt French. I can't continue with this one, man. Regardless, it's now time for race day, so if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a really good time to do so. Now let's get into Sunday's action. And Sunday would bring with it more rain, but hats off to the FIA for letting the race go ahead. God, I really hope that doesn't age badly. Leclerc would get the better start off the line, though Verstappen was able to defend from the Ferrari heading into turn 1. Sebastian Vettel would also get away well, and was nice enough to get Fernando Alonso a taste of his car for next year as he ran right into the side of him. The drama would continue as we approached turn 11, Zhou investigating if the spray was any better in the other direction and one of the Ferraris careering into the wall. Since Charles is not in the lead, this must be Carlos Sainz. As Pierre Gasly aimed to fix his Saturday brake problems, Alex Albon's Williams made the smarter decision of anyone all day, as it killed itself. All that saw the red flag brought out after less than 2 laps of racing, and with several cars out of the equation already, the FIA allowed JCB to enter as an 11th team. How kind of them. That opinion might not have been shared by Pierre Gasly, who almost ran into the back of the tractor, and on a serious note here, given the circuit's history, does anyone have Michael Massey's phone number? As the 3-hour timer continued to click down, it looked like we wouldn't get a race whatsoever. But after an agonising wait, having to scroll through F1 Twitter to pass the time, the cars would re-emerge from the pit lane with 49 minutes left before the checkered flag. While everyone sat at home thought it was about time to get going, the 20 best drivers in the world were apparently still afraid of a little bit of water. The FIA listened to all of their moaning before telling them to basically go f*** themselves, as the safety car came in and we got racing once again. Nicholas Latifi took another wrong turn as he exited out of the final corner. Thankfully, this led him into the pits, and he and Vettel took the opportunity to fit Inters as Max stormed away out front. I'll be honest here, I expected a monster pile-up at turn 1, but everyone made it through safely. I guess because the GOAT wasn't a part of it. He was causing enough drama in the pit lane. Verstappen would stream away into the distance here, and I'll probably not touch on him again. But the Inters gamble may just have paid off for Aston and Williams, as when everyone else pitted on the next lap, they shot up into the top 10. Alonso, Ricciardo, Schumacher and Zhou would opt to stay out, however, with Haas aiming for a safety car and the others looking to screw over their drivers by the looks of things. I guess Daniel's just not allowed ahead of Lando, is he? For one very brief moment, Schumacher led the race, before he proceeded to plummet to the rear faster than my subscriber count after that bridge joke earlier. While he was dropping down, the Mercedes were trying to move up, George Russell making some fantastic moves around the outside of the center S's. Lewis Hamilton, slightly further up the road, was having less luck, however, as he battled with Esteban Ocon, the Mercedes draggier in a straight line than Susan Boyle in a 100-meter sprint race. As we got to the closing minutes, Leclerc and the Ferrari would start to struggle even more, with Perez in third, quickly closing down the Monegasque in the closing stages. Just like Hamilton, he wouldn't be able to get through, which meant it was up to the Ferrari driver to f*** up his race, which Leclerc did at the final corner when he decided just to go straight on. But 26 seconds up the road, Max Verstappen would take the race win in dominant fashion. Oh, and yeah, he won the World Championship too. Christ, that was anticlimactic, wasn't it? Yeah, as it turned out, there was one more FIA f*** up on the cards. Because they'd restarted the race from a red flag, that meant full points were on offer from the beginning. And thanks to Leclerc receiving a 5-second penalty, Max was 113 points ahead with just 112 left on offer. The man just can't win a championship without a rules cock-up, can he? Congratulations to Max, obviously, but I'll be real, I couldn't give a flying f***. because the GOAT got points and that's all that really matters. So I'm off to celebrate, but if you enjoyed the comedy review this week, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button and help me reach 60k by the end of the year. Cheers as well to all my patrons, and if you want to help support me and the channel, the links to all that along with my other socials can be found down in the description below. But for now, that's all from me. I'll see you soon with another video, but until then, have a good one.